Hi, everybody. We want to thank you for joining us with this Facebook Live as we go through our last thought exchange that we did with community and staff and parents. Thank you for joining us for the live, as well as participating in the thought exchange and giving us your input. I want to introduce who's on the screen with us. I think you might know them by now. It's our superintendent, Mr. Phil Edwards. Wave. We also have Maria Macedo on here, Central Elementary Principal. She'll be joining us a little later, about 5:30, when we present the presentation in Spanish. So we encourage anybody who is Spanish speaking to stay on until then, or join us again towards about 5:30, where she'll be able to help give you the information in Spanish. Maria, thank you for joining us. We'll get back with you in a few minutes. Mr. Edwards, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing a screen so that we can get the presentation going, and start off with reminding everybody what the thought exchange was about, which was this question: what are some things you think AIC can do to make the 2021-2022 school year a more productive or better experience? I want to point out that we did have 527 participants with this, sharing 499 thoughts, and you can see how many actual ratings we had, which was huge. So we thank every single one of you guys for participating. Again, 38,000 plus ratings is a large number. Gives us a lot of information to help us move forward with the next school year. And just a little reminder about what Thought Exchange does is it's a collaborative space that allows us to hear thoughts, allows you guys to rate thoughts, and then we can pull data and really look at that and see what is the highest trending themes that were coming out of the exchange, so that we can kind of go into those specific thoughts and like really hone in on those. We read all the thoughts, and Mr. Edwards is going to touch on that in a little bit, but this allows us to look at the main things that are impacting our students, our staff, our community, our parents, and everybody who is a stakeholder for Angleton ISD. I do know Mr. Edwards wants to hone in a little bit more on this process. Mr. Edwards, you want to jump in?
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate everybody who's joining us on Facebook tonight. First thing I want to do is reiterate what Hannah said, which is thank you to everyone for participating. This is one of the ways we grow as a district. It's one of the ways I grow as a superintendent. It's one of the ways we grow in administration. We need to get comments back from people, take a look at what those issues are, and take a look at how we can improve on those issues, or things that we can make to change to make our school system better. And so, again, thank you for everyone for participating in this and sharing their thoughts. A couple of other things I'd just like to start out before we get into looking at some of the thoughts is this has been an incredibly tough year. End of last school year was tough. We had kids missing, how we ended school year. And then what we've gone through this year has made it incredibly difficult. It's made it incredibly difficult on students. It's made it incredibly difficult on teachers. It's made it incredibly difficult on administrators. As a superintendent, it's me doing things that I've never done before, never had this experience. I think that's one of the things that's important to remember. This is the first time any of us have ever been through anything like this. It's also important to remember that what we know now is very different than what we knew last summer. And so that caused a lot of changes to take place and a lot of ways to look at how we improve things and to constantly be adjusting. And so I know that that aspect of the school year has been very, very frustrating for people this year. And I appreciate their willingness to talk about that and to tell us some areas that we can get better in. One thing, though, I do want to also, finally, the last thing I really want to point out is one of the things I'm very proud of in this district of Angleton ISD for this school year is we've had tremendous success educating students. It hadn't been easy sometimes. They probably hadn't made the growth we want them to. But I'm telling you, when kids showed up, we had teachers who were working with them, were educating them, were wanting to improve, give them academic improvements. It's very tough, very different, but I think we did a very good job in trying to reach out to students, help them through these things, and educating them this year. That's a tremendous accomplishment for our staff. I think the other thing I think that's very, very important is our focus here is always students first. It's the number one thing we do. And so when we make decisions, that's what we do that with students in mind. And again, as we've gone through this year, we've done this through the lens of how do we help students? How do we give students our best efforts? How do we get them through this incredibly difficult year? I'm going to talk about the end of this, about some things that are coming up through next year. We think there's some positive growth coming out of this. There's things we've learned, but there's also areas that we're going to have to continue to address as well. And so, again, Hannah, again, thank you to everybody who's been a part of this. And so I think now we're going to start off taking a look at some of the top rated thoughts, which are kind of within the main themes that we saw consistently through the thought exchange.
Yeah, I want to reiterate, there is no way that we could go through every single thought that we get, because you saw how many were shared with us in our exchange. So we try to hone in on some of those top thoughts that he was talking about. We have made the report, the final report summary of this available on our website under our district. So you will be able to find thought exchange reports there and look at the thoughts if you want. So they are available and they'll stay there for you guys to look at. One of the things that we noticed in the thought exchange was there's these comments that we saw coming up that were never are negative thoughts that are shared here, meaning thought exchange, addressed other than a politically correct publicity statement. Administration dodges any criticism and nothing changes, or make the thoughts and reactions public, which I just explained. We do have that open now in our website under our district. After personally identifiable information is removed, make the results collected public. So, Mr. Edwards, would you like to touch on that one at all?
Yeah, I think we've done that. I know you've put up a website. It's on our website this year or now about this thought exchange, where people can go in and look at the themes and look at the thoughts and look at their ratings. We're not trying to hide behind anything. I know one of the other comments I saw that was made is, do I even read these? Yes, I read all 499 thoughts. Do I share them? Yes, I share them with our school board. I share them with our administrative staff. I can tell you have multiple conversations and multiple meetings about these things, and try to look at how ways we can improve and what are the common themes we see that we need to address. So I can assure you there's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of action that comes out of this. I spend quite a bit of my time looking at this and figuring out how to react to this. And I'm going to tell you, we try to react to it in a positive way. We want growth out of this. We don't want to get defensive. We understand negative comments, but again, our goal is to grow and be better as a district.
I also put up here, Mr. Edwards, a previous exchange so that you could maybe point out some things that we do activate after the exchange, or we do initiate after the exchanges that we have had in the past.
Okay, so like this first one here came from our thought exchange in September. It was a very, very highly rated one. And students are doing online learning, need to be held accountable. If they're not doing work, then they need to go back on campus. Online learning does not mean a free day. We started that process in October. Kids that we were seeing failing, principals were getting in touch with. We're trying to speak with parents about getting them back on campus. And one of the things we did as a school district, and I'm going to tell you, we received national attention for this. We were one of the largest school districts, not only in the state, but in the nation, is we said at semester, if you're failing and you're online, you have to come back to school, or we're not going to serve you anymore. We had that happen. We think it's been successful. We know students have continued to struggle academically. We recognize that. But I can tell you from those type of comments on our first thought exchange, we took action on that. And I think I've just described to you how we've done that. The next one there is about teacher workload and extra duties being given. Teachers are unsustainable, extra duties. I understand teachers have had a lot put onto them. People being out with COVID has put a tremendous stress on our system and how many people we have in the school district. But let me tell you some of the things we did do in the fall. We added 13 teacher spots last fall across campuses. I think that includes putting additional positions at the junior high, high school, and at elementary schools. The cost of those additional 13 spots after this thought exchange was $845,000. We added 52 campus paraprofessional positions that are a cost of over $1 million this year. We did a lot of that over the summer in anticipation that people were going to miss and that we were going to struggle to put adults in classrooms. We were going to struggle with where kids ate lunch. If you remember back to the summer, the guidance we had, this is how we had to follow it. We invested in getting people into our schools to help with that. I can tell you this school year, Angleton ISD has invested $2.9 million in additional positions. And those total additional positions were 98 additional positions. So we have reacted. We've reacted to this thought. We knew we needed extra people in there, and we've worked very hard to accomplish that. I think one of the things that's very tough to do is the problem was so big, we just at a point we get to we can't hire any more people. Money is an issue, and so we end up doing the best we can with all this. I think it's also important to know right now that our enrollment has stayed pretty constant this year, although now at the end of the school year it has gotten lower, and enrollment funds schools. I commend our board for making the commitment and holding me accountable to get extra positions into the school district. But again, 98 new positions at an investment of just short of $3 million this school year is the commitment we've made. And feedback from Thoughtexchange is what drove a lot of these kinds of decisions.
That's great. Moving on, we're going to look at these two thoughts in particular that were a theme we also saw, the representative of a theme we saw. Teachers should be allowed to talk to school board members without being told that they could have consequences if they do. School board members need to visit and talk to teachers, and not just once a year. I know you would like to maybe share some comments regarding these two thoughts and thoughts similar to them.
I'll just talk real briefly about school board members and teachers talking to board members. We have very specific policies on this that we have to follow. They're board policies. There's one board policy that's says very straightforward. Employees can talk to board members. There's nothing that prevents that from happening. There should be no consequences that come their way when they do that. I also believe teachers should be able to come to me. I have an open door policy. I will visit with anybody, call and schedule a time. I've stayed as late as 6 o'clock on a Friday talking to teachers about things that are going on in their campus. So those things are allowed. And we also have a very strong retaliation policy. If people are being retaliated against because they talk to board members or they talk to me, that's a violation of our policy. We will investigate that and take action. So if those kinds of things are happening, we need to know. The other thing I want to mention about this as well is in our policy that says employees can talk to board members, it also says that board members are to refer them to the lowest level at which the problem occurs. That means, and it's very simple. I'll just give an example. If I'm a teacher and a parent has a complaint about something that's gone on in my class, I would not want that parent to go right to the superintendent or right to a board member. What you would hope they would do is come to me and have that discussion with me as a teacher. If they don't get help there, don't get this the result they want, then they talk to the principal and we go up the ladder with these kinds of things. I think that's the same thing I ask as a superintendent. It's what board members are going to do is they're going to refer these things back to me. And we would ask that if you have problems at your school, whether that be with an assistant principal or something that's going on, you'd start at the lowest level as your principal. If you're uncomfortable doing that, then I'd ask you to come into central office and talk to one of us. We're not going to go call the principal immediately. We don't want to create a situation in which people are uncomfortable. We want to know about people if they feel like they're having things done to them that are not correct. And we want to try to resolve the situation. Again, the last thing I say, it's a very strong retaliation policy. If you feel like you're being retaliated against because of something that's happened like this, then you need to let central office, specifically our HR department, know so that we can investigate and take corrective action. Lastly, I want to say one last thing, Hannah.
Sure.
One of the things and I did not do this at the end of last year. I did it at the end of my first year. I did it actually at the beginning of my first year and at the end of my first year, was go around to campuses and meet with groups of teachers and talk about their issues, both what they've experienced this year and what's coming up next year. I'm going to do those things at the end of this school year. In fact, I have my first one scheduled with JJAP on Monday, and over the last 3 weeks of school, I'll be making my way to every campus. Principals will schedule those times. I've told principals they can schedule time with me with a group of teachers, or they can come and present. I'll speak to the whole faculty and listen to them. When I have those conversations, the principals or administrators from the campus are not in the room. I want to listen to what the issues are. I also know I want to listen, but sometimes it's just an issue of me being able to tell you why we're doing things. I find that's very effective sometimes. Sometimes we don't do a very good job, and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit more, of explaining the why. And I think that's something that's happened during COVID. It's something I'm going to vow to work on. But get with your principal, find out when I'm coming. And if you're not going to be that person in the room, find out who is and communicate with them about what are the things that we need to administration know, what are the things we need to work on. Again, I take those meetings very, very seriously. And we look to grow and improve coming out of them.
That actually leads us kind of into our next thoughts that we wanted to talk about, is communication. We saw, again, this was a trending theme. We need better communication throughout the district. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. We aren't operating as a cohesive team. When parents ask questions, they get different answers from different people, and it makes us look bad as a district. Better communication so that the stakeholders know the successful things that are happening in the district. You touched on that a little bit, but would you go into a little bit more detail about that, Mr. Edwards?
Yeah, I think when we reflected back, we saw some of these comments, and Hannah, I can tell you, Hannah and I have had a couple of conversations. I think we recognize that communication has been difficult this year. We've not done as good a job with it as we need to. I think Hannah and her department would probably accept that. I can tell you at schools, I can definitely tell you at administration, and with me, that I accept that criticism. COVID has created some of those problems. I think it's something as we go move into next year that we've really got to work to improve. We've got to get timely information out to people. We've got to let them know the why. We've got to let them know what's going on. And just explain ourselves, do a little bit better job of explaining ourselves. I will tell you, I hate to offer up excuses, but COVID sometimes has been like a tidal wave. There's just so much going on that you sometimes forget that most important aspect in dealing with organizations is communicating effectively and making sure everybody's on the same page. And so I really appreciate these comments. I can tell you we take them to heart. I'm going to tell you it's going to be something we're really going to work on. I'm going to tell you we're really going to work on building cohesion among our team and making sure we communicate effectively and in a timely manner, as starting now and as we move through the rest of this school year, the summer, and next school year. I want to talk about one other thing. I don't know. Is the next slide? There we go. Okay. So go ahead and talk about that one real quick, Anna.
Go ahead. This is specific to school calendar comments that we got. We did do a thought exchange specific to school calendar not too long ago, but these were some thoughts that we saw. Parents have always had a chance to vote on the school calendar. What was the change this year? District calendar voting, give parents and teachers the options, let us vote, not change it. Okay. These were some things that we saw pop up. And I know you spoke a little bit about communication, and some of this I know ties in with how you want to communicate about the calendar.
Right. One of the things I'll tell you about the calendars, we did a thought exchange this year about the calendar. We got feedback from that, and that's how we developed the calendar. And so that's how we let people give us feedback on the calendar. One of the things I'll say about the school calendar is the main things I'll tell you from that thought exchange about the calendar was we wanted a week at Thanksgiving, 2 weeks at Christmas, and a week at spring break. That was by far the overwhelming comment that was made. The calendar doesn't change much from year to year. We talk about when the start date's going to be. A big source of contention has been Fair Week. What we did this year and what we're doing next year is the same thing, taking off, I think, 2.5 days for kids to be part of the fair. And then when does school end? And it usually ends on the Friday before Memorial Day. We did have some change about spring break. Our spring break calendar and a lot of our holiday calendars really has to match. We want it to match what other school districts in Brazoria County do. A lot of our staff don't live in Angleton. Not a lot, but we have staff members that don't live in Angleton. Their kids go to other schools. It's really difficult on them when we're on spring break and they're not, or vice versa. And so we want to align with that. Another big issue is we have kids who take dual credit classes. So Brazosport College is not out, and we are. That puts a strain on those kids. They have to go to class. And so we want to try and align with Brazosport College. So those are the big factors that go into the calendar. Again, I think one of the things that's really important is knowing the why. I hope I've just explained that to you. We did change it last month again. Next year's calendar, well, that was to readdress and move spring break so that it would be aligned with everybody in the Houston area. not like it was this year. And so we felt that was a positive change. And I will tell you, we did that along with the 3 other Southern Brazoria County school districts: Columbia, Brazoria, Sweeney, Brazosport, along with Brazosport College. That way we're aligned for those types of things. And the reason we want to be aligned with especially Brazosport College is that's what's best for students. We don't want students to be off and then having to continue to go to dual credit classes there. It's also best for students who have parents who work in other districts, or parents who have students who work in, or students who attend other districts. And so that thought of having students first is a big driver of the calendar.
The next theme that we want to kind of look at is this idea that teachers, this was a thought that was provided, that teachers have been thrown into a sink or swim scenario this year. Instead of throwing more PD and textbook strategies to implement at us, give us actual support with curriculum in the classroom. I know you wanted to touch on this one. It did get a 3.9 rating, which is a pretty high rating.
I really appreciate this comment. I really appreciate the people who spoke to this. I probably couldn't agree more with them. I think we did that this year. A lot of it was done because we were having to change on the fly. I mean, if you think about, we had a school system that was based on kids coming into our building, sitting in classrooms, and that's how we, the teacher teaching and the kids doing work from that. And we had to completely change how we delivered education last March, and we had to completely change how we delivered it this school year. We had to just dive feet first into remote, cause some problems. We knew the growth curve was immense, and that's always difficult when you do those kinds of things. But I do agree. One of the things I have really stressed to our administrators here is PD does not need to be, hey, we give it to you at the start of the year and turn you loose and get mad at you when we don't do it. And it's also not something we should be throwing you new things in the middle of the year and go, now, hey, go do this. We know those 2 things aren't effective. I'm committed to those kinds of things not happening next year. We are going to have some new growth. We're really going to work on PLCs through Solution Tree. That's going to be a major thing we do throughout the whole school year. If you're a teacher of grades pre-K through 2, we're also going to be working with you going through reading academies. That's a state mandated action. We have to put our pre-K through 3 teachers through that. And so we've got to start that this year. We also think it'll be beneficial for our teachers and for our students. But again, it's going to be something that we support throughout the rest of the school year. Those are pretty much going to be the only 2 new things that we put forward next year. We're going to work really hard to not go into adding things, even though we think we may see things. We are going to make adjustments when we need to. We also got to clean up and make sure people know some of the changes we've made this year and make sure we're operating better in those types of systems than we are this year. Perfect one's MAP. Our teachers need more training. We need more training. We need to smooth out some of the kinks. We're going to do those things. I think MAP's a great program. I think it's going to give us a lot of information that we can use. But we understand we need to continue to support our teachers with that. Last thing I'll say about PD is for one of the new director positions we've hired, this is going to be the main focus of that director. It's a director of professional development and school improvement. PD and have a coherent professional development system and schedule for our whole district is really what this person has been tasked with. We've been lucky to hire Ms. Bridget Perkle from Brazosport to do this. I gave her a very simple thing. I don't want one department to schedule PD for a teacher on Monday and another one to schedule on Wednesday and another one to schedule something else on Friday, and then the teacher's out for 3 days. We also want there to be systematic, and we want it to be about the same things, and we want it to be about support and support for teachers. I think that's tremendously important. And so excited about the changes that we're going to be having with professional development. And again, thank you for this thought. Like I said, there's a lot of truth in this. I will tell you, we recognized this problem before the Thought Exchange. We've been talking about this since February. And so it's a very on target point. And like I said, we've got some things coming. We hope that will fix this situation.
A very similar type of thought one of the ones that we got that got a 3.7 rating was get teacher input on program purchases. They are the ones using it on a daily basis and are the ones that know if it is user friendly.
I agree, and I think for the most part, we do get teacher input into purchases. I will tell you this one thing, we want input from a lot of different sources. We want input from teachers. Once we start using a program, we want input from teachers on if it works, what we do to improve it, those kinds of things. But I'm also going to tell you, the people who make these final decisions are the people in administration. That's what they get paid to do. They get paid to take all that input, listen to it, and make the best decisions for the students of our district. They not only look at teacher input, but they look at what's their success with students. Is it rigorous enough for students? Is it going to allow for more student success? Those are the type of decisions that I expect our directors and our central administrators to decide and make positive decisions about what type of programs we use. It's an all-encompassing. We want to look at a lot of different data points to make the best decision for students. And I think for the most part, we've done that. I'll also tell you this. If we see the program's not working and it's not being successful over time, then we have the ability and will make decisions about that. But student academic performance, student success is what's behind a lot of these decisions. Teachers play a huge part in that. We're going to continue to listen to teachers, and we're going to make the best decisions with the information we have at the time.
Kind of getting close on our time to get over to the Spanish presentation, but there's a couple more thoughts I know we want to talk about. They're very related. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one and go to the next slide, but come back to this one.
Okay.
I also think this has been an exceptionally difficult year with teachers and assistants out for COVID and all the necessary trainings. That campus assistants have been a huge addition to the campus for coverage. It would be nice to have them on a regular basis. I also want to touch on the next one really quickly. Remote teachers, if remote learning remains, open positions specifically for teaching online and let current teachers go back to working face-to-face. So do you want to address
Go back to the first one, Hannah. Let me talk
Yes,
about
sir.
that just briefly.
Yeah.
I can tell you that this year we've had 52, I believe, campus assistants hired. We're not going to have 52 next year, but we are going to keep them. We're going to continue to provide campus assistants at each campus. I think the number we've been shooting for is 3 at each campus. We're going to keep all the campus assistants we have right now through the start of next school year and continue to work with them to get them placed in positions in the school district if they choose to do that through next December. One of the things we know, and we're seeing great data that shows us that COVID's really waning, and that for a variety of reasons, including people getting the vaccine. And so we're seeing changes in this, but I'm not blind to the fact that COVID's still going to exist when we start school in August next year. And so having those campus assistants on campus have proven effective, and we're going to be able to keep them at a level as we move through next year. And I think also for the foreseeable future as well. And so we think that's very, very important. And if we could show the next slide, let me just talk a little bit about remote learning and just some other ideas about next school year. And because I get this question a lot, what's remote learning going to look like? Are we going to wear masks? Are you going to require that we get vaccines? So let me kind of touch on a couple of those things. First of all, about virtual education, that decision is going to come out, whether we offer it or don't offer it, will come out based on requirements from the legislature and TEA. We believe that we will still be able to offer remote learning next year. I can tell you our conversations have been that we want to honor parents who feel that their children still need to be provided remote learning. But I'm going to tell you it's going to look very different than what it looked like this year. If you remember me saying at the start of this, things we know now and the things we knew at the beginning of the school year are very different. I think this dedicated teachers who are dedicated to doing remote learning, and they're the ones doing it, I agree. If we're going to do remote learning, that's what's going to happen. If you're an on-campus student, you're going to be an on-campus student. You're going to have on-campus teachers, and that's what that's going to be. If you're going to be a remote student, then we expect to have a virtual academy-like place. That's where you will take those classes. We will not be mixing them like we've done this year. I also will tell you there'll be certain programs that we will not offer remote. Perfect one, just an example, is high school extracurriculars. We will not say you can be remote and then come onto campus to play football or baseball or march in the band or do one act play or do CTE type classes like welding. If you're going to be involved in those type of programs, then you're going to have to be an on-campus student. And the same type of things that are programs at our elementary and junior high campuses. If you're going to be involved in the on-campus programs, then you're going to have to be an on-campus student. If you choose to be remote, then we'll be able to provide you an education as long as, again, as the legislature and TEA allows that. But you're not going to have access to everything like we did this year. Certain classes like AP classes are most likely not going to be offered through the remote learning. We can still explore some opportunities there, but a lot of those classes will be required to be on campus. Brazosport will be teaching dual credit classes on campus next year. And so those kids who took dual credit classes, who did them remote, you may still have that opportunity, but a lot of the classes are going to be, you're going to have to come to campus to do that. If you're going to be involved in that, then you're going to be an on-campus student, is what we're going to do. Like I said, we want to be respectful of people's choices, but we do not want remote education to create a lot of the issues that it helped do this year. I think the other thing that's important to know about remote education is if you're doing that, we need to make sure kids are successful. If they're not being successful, then we need them to come back to school. Our data shows without a doubt that kids who are in our schools on a full-time basis are more successful academically. And so we believe our schools are safe. We've had very little COVID spread in our schools this year. Most of our cases who get COVID are getting it outside the school. And again, I think the job that our teachers, our principals, our custodial staff, our maintenance staff has done this year has made coming into our buildings very, very safe. I think the data backs that up tremendously. A lot of questions about masks. I can tell you, our board is going to take up masks at our May 18th board meeting. We expect to have an announcement after that board meeting about how we're going to continue with wearing masks after that board meeting. I've given the board some recommendations. We know also that as soon as we can get done wearing masks in our school buildings, we want to get there. But we also want to make sure our schools are safe for students. I believe we have some proposals looking at the data that are going to be able to do that and be able to very much relax or remove masks from in our schools. Just real quickly about vaccines. Whether someone gets vaccinated is their choice. We do not expect to, unless an outside government entity, TEA, the state, federal government says you have to have the vaccine to come to school. Angleton ISD will not, I want to repeat this again. Angleton ISD will not be requiring students to get vaccines unless we are required to do so. I think the same thing for employees. We at this time have no plans to make a requirement that employees get vaccines. We think they're valuable. We think they help. We think they help stop the spread. But I and the school district will respect people's choices when it comes to that. The last thing I just want to talk about, just real briefly about next year, is we've kind of got through COVID and we're getting through COVID, but now we've got another problem that we've got to face, and that is how to reverse the academic slide that students have gotten with what happened at the end of last year and what's happened this year. We've had kids and teachers miss a lot of days. Education has been kind of sporadic in some cases, and we know there's a COVID academic slide. We've been fortunate enough. We've gotten several $1 million in additional funds to help address this. We are going to start the inspection of how we do that. I've got a group meeting tomorrow with our central administration to start talking about this. And then we will be going out doing focus groups, talking to teachers, parents, students, principals about what are the things that we need to do to help kids accelerate their academic achievement. I can tell you 3 of the areas that we will pay a lot of attention to is professional development, which also includes teacher support on how to work with these problems, looking at instructional practices in classrooms, looking at instructional materials, and looking at instructional time. And then finally, a big area again will be how do we affect people in a positive way about social and emotional health. These are all 3 areas. We expect this to be a 5-year plan on how to reverse the academic slide. But I know what's best for students is we've got to address these issues. We may have to make some decisions that are tough, but I know this about our staff. They will work incredibly hard, and I believe we will provide the resources that will allow our students to be successful. And Angleton ISD will come out of this, will recover from this academic gap. It's going to take some time to do it. It's going to be a lot of work, but we are going to do it. We are going to be dedicated to our students and to their academic achievement. Go ahead. Is there one more? Okay, just
wrapping it up, and you only went about 7 minutes over 5:30.
That's pretty good for me. So,
yeah.
Okay. Again, I just want to thank everybody for being part of either the Thought Exchange or joining us tonight. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call our central office, call me, or call your school principal. We'll be happy to try and answer your questions for you. Again, I want to make sure I follow through and that everybody understands that my goal is continual improvement for the district. I believe in this statement very much. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no standing still. We're going to continue to try and get better. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but we will address our mistakes and we will try to get better. I want to also make sure that we don't lose sight of the good things we've done. And a lot of times when you do things like this, you hear a lot of the negative. That's okay. We need to hear those things. But again, this school district has done tremendous work this year with our students. We've done a lot of good things. We were able to give teachers a bonus in January. We were able to do things like Halloween parties. We're able to do things at the end of the school like awards ceremonies. And we're going to have a wonderful graduation in which we celebrate our graduating seniors who we are so proud of. And so I'm very, very proud and pleased and excited about those things we have done. I also finally want to say is, again, my priority is to make sure that the students of Angleton Independent School District have the skills and things they need to be successful. And I will never lose sight of making sure students are at the heart of the decisions we make as a school district. So again, thank you. Thank you, Hannah, for doing this with me. I think now Ms. Macedo is going to speak to our parents and listeners who are Spanish speaking. So thank you, Maria, for doing that. And thank you to everyone.
Thanks again for joining us, Mr. Edwards, and reaching out to our community to go through some of those top themes that we saw in our thought exchange. And he did mention Ms. Macedo is going to join us right in a few seconds to start the presentation in Spanish. I want to remind everybody that the thought exchange final report, the summary report, is on our website under the Our District tab. If you want to look back at all the thoughts, there were many, but they're very good and very helpful thoughts. So it will be there and you can look at that, as well as some of the reports from previous thought exchanges that we've done with our parents and community. I want to reintroduce Ms. Macedo, Central Elementary Principal, and I'm going to let her take over as I share the screen again and we do our presentation in Spanish.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Macedo y yo soy la directora de la Escuela Primaria Central. Hace unas semanas el distrito mandó una encuesta preguntándole a los padres por sus pensamientos. La encuesta, lo que nos enfocamos fue cuáles son algunas de las cosas que cree que podemos hacer en nuestro distrito para el año escolar, el próximo año, para que sea una experiencia más productiva o mejor. Entonces, ahorita vamos a repasar el encuesto. Ms. Chalmers, go ahead. Tuvimos 527 participantes, 499 pensamientos y tuvimos unas calificaciones donde ustedes podían ver diciendo cuál era la importancia de cada pensamiento. 53% de la encuesta había sido, lo entregaron nuestros empleados, 41% fueron nuestros padres, 2% fueron miembros de nuestra comunidad y 4% fueron otras personas que llenaron la encuesta. Entonces, les queremos dar las gracias porque sí tuvimos muchos participantes, como les dije, 127 y muchos pensamientos, 499. Ok, Hannah. Uno de los pensamientos clave que ustedes nos habían dado a nosotros es que los pensamientos negativos que se comparten aquí nunca se dirigen más que una declaración políticamente correcta. Sí queremos ser muy claros que no estamos escondiendo nada. Estos comentarios, sobre estos comentarios, sí tenemos muchas juntas, tenemos conversaciones y acciones que siguen con estos pensamientos que usted nos manda. Entonces sí queremos saber que siempre en lo que nos enfocamos son nuestros alumnos. Ese siempre va a ser como nos vamos a enfocar. Y que les queremos dar las gracias porque siempre estamos buscando maneras de tener crecimiento positivo. Ahorita les voy a dar un resumen de los pensamientos que se pueden, que voy a repasar, pero también les quiero decir que estos pensamientos los pueden encontrar en nuestra página web en Angleton ISD. Ok. Mientras que continuamos mejorando los impactos del COVID-19 en este año escolar, les pedimos que por favor compartieran lo que usted ha visto y cómo les podríamos dar más apoyo. Esto fue algo anteriormente. Este proceso empezó en octubre y nada más para repasar unos que habíamos tenido anteriormente. Los estudiantes, uno de los pensamientos era que los estudiantes que están haciendo el aprendizaje en línea deben de rendir cuentas. Si no están trabajando, deben de regresar a la escuela. En octubre nos juntamos un grupo de directores para repasar esta información, porque sí fue un pensamiento que nos dieron ustedes como padres de familia. Y lo que hicimos en ese tiempo es nos juntamos, hicimos un plan y los niños que no estaban pasando o estaban reprobando, a ellos les pedimos que regresaran a la escuela para tener clases aquí. Otro de los otros pensamientos que habían compartido con nosotros era que el cargo de trabajo y las tareas adicionales que se asignan a las maestras era mucho trabajo. Y nosotros sabemos que eso sí fue lo que estaba pasando. Esto fue algo muy nuevo para el distrito. La situación de COVID cambiaba de día a día y nosotros también teníamos que cambiar lo que estábamos haciendo. Pero sí lo reconocemos y sabemos que sí es lo que estaba sucediendo, pero entonces sí hemos agarrado otras posiciones para poder apoyar a nuestras maestras. Se agregaron 13 posiciones de maestros al distrito. También se agregaron 52 posiciones de ayudantes en las escuelas, que fue un costo casi de 1.9 millones de dólares. Y también usamos 2.9 millones para agregar 98 posiciones. Entonces, cuando nosotros supimos que sí necesitábamos más gente, más apoyo para nuestras maestras, el superintendente Edwards puso más posiciones para poder apoyar a nuestras maestras. Entonces, de nuevo, les recuerdo que los pensamientos de ustedes sí se toman en serio. Les queremos dar las gracias por darnos toda su información, sus pensamientos, para que podamos seguir adelante. Otro pensamiento clave es que muchos tienen la idea que se debe de permitir a los maestros, que los maestros no pueden hablar con miembros de la junta escolar sin que se les diga que sin tener consecuencias. El superintendente Edwards dijo que él espera que si alguien tiene un problema, una pregunta o unos comentarios, que si por favor se pueden contactar con la persona directa o con el director para poder resolver el problema o las preguntas que usted pueda tener. Por ejemplo, si yo soy una maestra y necesito ayuda, les pedimos nosotros que usted hable con el director o la directora. Si usted no se siente a gusto en hacer eso, usted puede hablar a nuestra oficina central y puede hablar con el señor Edwards, o nuestro superintendente. También, uno de los pensamientos clave fue que los miembros de la junta escolar deben de visitar y hablar con los maestros y no solo una vez al año. Sí les quiero decir que al fin del año el superintendente Edwards visita con todas las maestras porque siempre queremos mejorar. Entonces, si uno se siente que necesita hablar con una maestra, un director o el superintendente, por favor sepa que siempre estamos disponibles. Okay. Otros pensamientos claves es que nosotros reconocemos que tenemos que comunicarnos un poco mejor, o al principio cuando había empezado todo con el COVID, porque esos son pensamientos anteriores. Y sabemos que sí fue algo un poco difícil, pero sí les queremos recordar que las cosas estaban cambiando de día a día. Estábamos haciendo lo más mejor posible para darles a ustedes toda la información que necesitaban. Cuando nos ponemos a pensar, sí vimos nosotros que hay unos lugares donde podemos mejorar. Para el próximo año las cosas serán muy diferentes, pero vamos a seguir tratando de mejorar cuando nosotros nos estemos comunicando con ustedes y con sus familias. También la clave de abajo es lo mismo. Quieren mejor comunicación y eso es algo que nosotros sabemos que se necesita ocurrir y sí lo vamos a hacer para el próximo año. Ok, Ms. Chalmers. Otro pensamiento clave es el calendario escolar. Los padres siempre han tenido la oportunidad de votar en el calendario. ¿Cuál fue el cambio este año? Normalmente nos enfocamos en los días festivos, los días en que los niños no vienen a las escuelas. Y eso no cambia mucho de año en año y va a ser lo mismo. Así tenemos muchos alumnos que van al colegio y intentamos de alinear el calendario de nosotros con el calendario del colegio, así nuestros alumnos estén en la escuela a los mismos tiempos. También otra cosa en que nos enfocamos es cuando se va a terminar la escuela. Y este año el calendario que fue escogido sigue siendo igual de los otros calendarios. De nuevo, tratamos de tener los días festivos, cuando empieza la escuela y cuando termina. Nuestra meta es enfocarnos en eso para que estén iguales los calendarios. Los cambios se hicieron este año porque el colegio tenía la Semana Santa en otra semana, entonces para alinear los dos calendarios sí tuvimos que ajustarlo un poco, pero otra vez, siempre hacemos los cambios para ver qué es lo que más mejor para nuestros estudiantes. Ok, Ms. Chalmers. Otro pensamiento anterior es que los maestros han tenido muchas tareas. En lugar de lanzarnos más estrategias, querían más desarrollo profesional y de libros para poder implementar las tareas. Quieren algo que podían utilizar en el salón. El señor Edwards ha aprobado una nueva directora de desarrollo profesional, una directora Bridget Purcell. Ella se va a encargar de todo el desarrollo profesional para nuestras maestras. Así ellas tienen el apoyo desde el principio hasta el fin. Tenemos una persona que está dedicado a este trabajo para el próximo año y sabemos que vamos a tener mucho éxito porque vamos a tener este apoyo adicional. Estamos de acuerdo que las cosas fueron muy difíciles este año, pero sí lo reconocemos y vamos a cambiar la manera en que damos la enseñanza y vamos a seguir entrenando a nuestras maestras para que puedan dar la materia lo más mejor que ellas puedan. Ms. Chalmers. Otro pensamiento clave es que obtenga información del maestro sobre las compras de programas. Normalmente sí pedimos información y opiniones de nuestras maestras, pero al fin del día, el trabajo es de los directores. El trabajo de los directores es para que ellos puedan repasar cada programa que vamos a comprar, la materia que se va a comprar para poder educar a nuestros alumnos. Y ellos son, al fin del día, ellos son los que seleccionan lo más mejor para nuestros alumnos. Entonces, sí agarramos opiniones de nuestras maestras, pero al fin del día, Mr. Edwards, nuestro superintendente, tiene un equipo que ellos son los que repasan todo esto, porque sí es el trabajo de ellos para asegurarnos que tenemos los programas mejores para nuestros alumnos. Ok, Ms. Chalmers. Otro pensamiento clave es que alguien creó que también este ha sido un año excepcionalmente difícil con los profesores y ayudantes fuera de COVID y todo el entrenamiento necesario nos los han dado, pero también hemos tenido ayudantes. Este año tuvimos 52 asistentes que nos pudieran ayudar en todas las escuelas. No vamos a tener todas las posiciones el próximo año, pero sí las vamos a tener hasta el mes de diciembre. Sí sabemos que COVID va a seguir el próximo año. Ahí vamos a estar listos, pero no podemos tener las 52 posiciones en este momento al pasar de diciembre. Entonces, ahorita sí vamos a tener ese apoyo. Vamos a tener a nuestros 52 asistentes para poder ayudarnos, pero tal vez eso sí vaya a cambiar. Ok. Otro pensamiento clave es que los maestros que dan clase en línea, si el aprendizaje remoto persiste, habrá puestos específicamente para esos maestros. ¿Y cómo se va a ver eso? De clase de línea para el próximo año, así se va a ver un poco diferente de lo que se vio este año. Este año tuvimos que hacer cosas un poco rápido, pero sí volvimos a evaluar lo que estábamos haciendo. Y sí sabemos que el próximo año vamos a tener clases en línea, pero nosotros sabemos que los estudiantes que están en nuestras escuelas tienen más éxitos que los alumnos que han estado en la computadora o por la línea o en línea. Entonces, el próximo año eso sí se va a ver diferente. Ahorita tenemos unos alumnos que podían haber participado en actividades extracurriculares y mientras que ellos estaban haciendo todas las clases en la computadora, podían venir aquí a la escuela para participar en esas actividades. El próximo año ese no va a ser el caso. Aprendimos mucho este año y sabemos que el próximo año tenemos que cambiar unas cosas. Entonces vamos a ver diferentes opciones, pero sí sabemos que se va a ver diferente. También hemos tenido muchas preguntas sobre las vacunas y sobre las máscaras. Al mayo 18 vamos a tener una junta para repasar la decisión de las máscaras. Sí sabemos que COVID se ve muy diferente ahorita y que los números están bajando, pero también sabemos de que COVID no se va a desaparecer y sí vamos a empezar el año escolar con unas cosas, pero no van a ser el extremo que estuvimos este año. Necesitamos estar listos. Sabemos que más gente se está vacunando. Nosotros no le vamos a pedir a nadie que se vacune, pero sí sabemos que más gente se está vacunando y que los números están bajando de COVID. Y esperamos que los números sigan bajando para que podamos regresar a tener clases regularmente como lo hemos hecho anteriormente. Sí sabemos que un problema que vamos a tener el próximo año es la remediación académica. Sí sabemos que los niños no están en el nivel de que normalmente estarán en este año y podría haber sido por muchas razones. COVID cambió muchas cosas para nosotros, pero vamos a tener una junta para repasar los datos que tenemos sobre nuestros estudiantes para poder tener una buena remediación académica. Queremos ayudar a nuestros alumnos, le queremos dar apoyo a nuestras maestras, queremos darles la materia que necesitan y el tiempo. Sabemos que este plan vamos a tener que seguir con él como unos 5 años porque sí vamos a tener mucho trabajo que hacer porque como quiera este año no fue tradicional y las cosas fueron muy, muy diferentes, pero queremos que ustedes sepan que vamos a hacer todo lo más posible para que su hijo o hija tenga mucho éxito en su carrera académica. Le queremos dar las gracias a todos ustedes por participar en este intercambio. Usaremos los comentarios de este foro para continuar a mejorar a nuestro distrito. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Macedo, for doing that. I know you provided a lot of information. I'm sure you reminded them that the report is available. I believe that they could catch that. Miss, do you want to say any last words, Mr. Edwards, or anything? Again, thank you to everybody.
I just want to thank Ms. Macedo for helping us with this. I also want to thank Hannah Chalmers, Lauren Moore, and Brittany Blanchard for the wonderful work you've done on this as well. It's not only on the Thought Exchange and on the Facebook. You guys are great. And again, thank you very much for your efforts on this.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for everybody who participated.